Yeah, step right here, over here for us. So you said, what's your nationality? Okay, how you know you a Hebrew? Okay, all praises, all praises. So they...
But one thing about
Right, but the Bible does tell us to debate our cause to prove all things. And a lot of times when we teach our people who they are, there's a pushback because we've been told for so many years that we're Negroes, we're African Americans, we're nothing basically.
Bring it up.
You see that? But God said that we are the greatest people that ever walked the earth. So you said you was a Hebrew, right? Okay, let me show you something. Go to Genesis. Because Hebrew, that was a name before our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob stepped on the scene. But once they came about, our name was changed, right, to Israel. That's who we are. That's why on this sign, you see we got the 12 tribes of Israel. You see that?
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 32 and verse 26. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob.
See, so at first his name was Jacob, right? So he was wrestling with the angel, and something happened amongst them, right? Read on.
And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel.
But what?
But Israel.
See that? So his name was changed to Israel. Go to Genesis 49 about the 12 tribes. Because the Bible is a history book before anything. It's a book full of laws pertaining to your people, all right? It's not for everybody. That's why we have to establish who we are, because the Bible wasn't given to all nations. You see that? The Bible was only given to our people. That's why in these last days, so many of us is walking around, we don't know where to go, we don't know who we are, because we've been destroyed. You see that? That's why our neighborhoods are demolished. That's why there's no fathers in the household. But if we knew that we was the greatest people that ever walked the earth, that would get us to change our ways. You see that? Read.
The book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse 1.
Bring it up.
And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
You see, so Jacob gathered his sons, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. These people you see on the sign, the so-called African Americans, the West Indians, the Haitians, the Puerto Ricans, the Cubans, the Dominicans, those are slave names. You see that? But what does God call you? What would your nationality be? What would they say your nationality is? Yeah, well, who they? Right. Now, what does God call you? Look on that sign. Yeah. Huh?
Oh, American flag.
Right. So what's on the side of American flags? Judah.
Right.
You see that? That name has power to it. You see what I'm saying? There's history behind that name. There's no history behind being an African American, other than when they brought us here on slave ships.
Bring it up.
That's all. Exactly. That's all they teach us. So my question to you is, why did we lose our name? How come we calling ourselves African Americans? Right. What would you say, bro? They teach us what they want us to know. Right. Right, but again, that's all true. I'm not saying it ain't true, but how did we lose our name? What happened to where we was called the 12 tribes of Israel, the sons of Jacob, and now us being called Black, African American, Puerto Rican, Native American? What happened? Right, okay. Get that in, get Deuteronomy first. All right, get start at 27 and 1.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27 and verse 1.
Bring it out.
And Moses, with the elders of Israel, commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day. Yes, sir.
So read that top part again, sir.
And Moses, with the elders of Israel.
See, Moses was talking to the elders of Israel.
Right.
He was talking only to the 12 tribes of Israel. He wasn't talking to all nations.
Right.
Because did all people lose their name?
Bring it out.
No, it was just us. Right now, go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. Let's see what Moses told them that was going to happen. Read.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So if we did not listen, that was one of the big things that happened. We stopped listening to God and we was doing our own will. We was doing what we thought was okay. God set up certain things for the Israelites that they were supposed to do to be a light to this world. But they decided to go against that.
Bring it out.
And this is what happened. Read.
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So what was the Israelites supposed to do? What's your name? Eric? What's your name, bro? Willie? I'm Rafael. So Eric, what was they supposed to do? What you saying, Willie? Right. They were supposed to follow the commandments.
Right.
So when you examine our community, are we following God's commandments? Are we doing what the Bible tells us to do?
Bring it out.
Right. So now get that in Isaiah. And we're gonna come back to the commandments because that's why we in the conditions that we're in. There's a lack of us keeping the commandments. We follow the so-called white man commandments before we follow God's commandments.
Bring it out.
That's a problem.
Right.
Because the only reason why this man is above us right now is because we didn't do what God told us to do.
That's right.
All right? Read that.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
So the Bible says the ox knows his owner and the ass his master's crib. So what is the ox and the ass? Do you know, Eric? It's an animal, but what kind of animal? Is it a smart animal? Right, because an ox does certain things, right? Right. Same with an ass, which is a donkey. They just work. But it says they know their owner and they know their master's crib. Meaning they know where they get their resources, their power from. They know who feeds them. They know who gives them knowledge, who tells them what to do. Right? Read. But you gotta ask yourself, why is God referring to these dumb animals? Read on.
But Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider.
He said, but Israel, the 12 tribes, we don't know who we are. We don't know who our master is. We think our master is the ones who put us in these chains.
Right. Bring it out.
We don't consider that the God of heaven and earth is our Lord.
That's right.
He only deals with us.
Right.
He has not dealt so with any other people. That's why we get punished. Just like you got kids here. If your kids stop doing what you tell them to do, what happens? They get punished. Same thing, right? So that's what happened with God. We stopped doing what he told us to do, so he punished us. Now go back to Deuteronomy 28. He said we wouldn't know who we are. We wouldn't know who our master is. We wouldn't know where to go to get pertinent information to build our communities back.
Bring it out.
That's why you got the George Floyd's happening.
Right.
You got Breonna Taylor's happening.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Dante Wright's happening. And people think now because you got the thing that's going on in Russia that it's gonna stop from what's happening. But if you look in the Ukraine, They still oppressing us.
Right.
They not allowing us to get on the trains. You see what I'm saying? That's because we destroyed. We don't know who we are. We would have never been in Ukraine if we knew we was God's chosen people.
That's right.
They left Nigeria, they left parts of Africa where they was living a decent life to go live in a cold-ass country where you still being hated because you don't know who you are.
Teach. Bring it up. Bring it up.
Give me Proverb and Bible.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 37.
So because we didn't keep God's commandments, he said we wouldn't know who our master is, right? Let's see what else God said.
Deuteronomy 28, 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword.
You know what an astonishment is, Eric? Shocking. You would agree with that? You know why it's shocking that we are, why is it shocking to the Most High? Why is it shocking to these other nations? Because we the greatest people on the earth.
That's right.
And for us to not be ruling this earth, that is an astonishment. That is shocking to these nations.
Right.
For us to have single parent households, that is shocking. Because you never read in the Bible where a kid was just left with a mother. They didn't have a father to take care of them. You see what I'm saying? They didn't have their own school system. They didn't have their own laws to govern their communities. That's an astonishment for us to be walking around here in the middle of the day with no purpose.
Right. Come on.
We don't have our own community. We don't have our own structure. You see what I'm saying? That's an astonishment. Read.
And a byword among all nations. Yes, sir. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword.
So the Most High said we are becoming a proverb. A proverb is a wise saying. You want to hide something from a nigga? What do? What do you do with it? Put it in a book. You see that? That's why we come out here and we read the Bible. We don't go with our own understanding. We don't go with our own words. Because what we think and what we believe is what got us in these conditions.
Bring it up.
You see that? So God said we would become a proverb and a what?
And a byword.
And a byword. African, American black, West Indian black, Puerto Rican, Cuban. Those are bywords. Those words are just product of our condition.
Right.
It doesn't tell who we truly are. You see that? It don't tell what our name means. Go back to Genesis, because let's see why he called us Israel. What do you say?
Hitler said that the true jewel has been stolen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He said the true jewel is the Negro.
And what they do, they suppress that information. And they made Hitler seem like he was the most evilest person on this earth. But George Washington had slaves. But they don't call him one of the most evil people on the earth.
Bring it up.
You see what I'm saying?
Teach.
Abraham Lincoln had slaves. All of the presidents up until when they abolished slavery had slaves.
Bring it up.
You see what I'm saying? But they perpetuate who they want to be evil. Just like they do with Russia. They make Russia seem evil, but nobody talks about what the United States did to Cuba.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So all of these things is they craft. But it's up to us to filter through the BS to see what's really true and what's not. Not to trust in our enemies. Read.
The book of Genesis, chapter 32 and verse 28. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God.
You see that? We the prince of the power with God.
That's right.
That's why being African American, there's no power in you. But God said when you come back to your nationality, when you come back to who you truly are, you are a prince that has power with God. It don't get no better than that.
Bring it up.
So Eric, what you gotta do, Willie, what you gotta do is start keeping God's commandments. Y'all should be out here with us teaching our people who we are. Go to Isaiah 58, because that's what we doing. Because without us knowing that we God's chosen people, actually get Deuteronomy 7 and 6 first. Without us knowing who we are, without us knowing that we are the most powerful people on this earth, that's why we live like we live.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.